All right, folks. It is that time of the week. How you doing? It is time for the Marketplace and Jumpstart Reset Show here live on the Kalalu Network and, of course, across several platforms on Tempo, on La Mega Mundial, on Caribbean Passport, and across social media. I'm Anthony Weeks, and I'm joined by my colleague, both Linda Dorman and Carolyn Howell. Ladies, how are you doing today?
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Oh, outstanding. Wow. Outstanding. That's incredible. I didn't realize how close my face was to the camera. Why didn't you guys
really was. We weren't going to say anything.
Why did you
really
say something? I mean, what is that?
And what a handsome face it is.
Oh, look at you. Brownie points. I like that.
Right. Yeah, for
like
real.
You like that? That's good. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. So other than that, how's your week going so far?
Really good.
I think it's productive. Yes, of course. We had a really bad storm come through, so we were part of that 100 million folks across the country that was getting this bad system. But, rain comes and then flowers and grass grow right after that. So got to have rain. In order to have the sun, you got to have a little bit of rain in your life.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
So you guys been getting rain? Is that time of the year, time of the calendar, you get a lot of rain? We're getting rain now as well, because one time we had this drought. There was nothing. The place was completely brown, And I was getting a little nervous there because obviously then you started having brush fires and, things like that. So, but now the place is looking green now. With a little rain, the place started turning green.
Started perking up. So let me ask you a question. Are there flights directly into St. Croix? That's an important question for me right now.
But wait a minute. Now, I want you to think about that question for a second. So I know that no one knows about St. Croix and everybody knows about St. Thomas. Yes, and there are all direct flights on multiple airlines going into St. Thomas. Yeah, but we have a couple of flights coming directly into St. Croix from places like from Atlanta, places like Miami.
Okay.
I believe there is one flight from Texas, and I think a flight from the Carolinas. I'm not quite sure about that, but at one point
from
we had
Carolinas. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you
Why
say
is that interesting?
I don't know.
Why are you
I don't know. I just thought you'd have one from at least the DMV. We're a critical jump off point.
DMV is not as easy as you think. Our congressperson talks about having to, because obviously they're on Capitol Hill, but they come home every week, and so I often hear them say it's not really that easy to get to.
Not that easy. Yes. Well,
and I'm wondering if they're talking about it's not that easy to get to the particular airports, or you're saying it's just not that easy once they're at the designated airport.
You have Dulles. Was it Dulles Airport? What do you call it?
Dulles in Virginia.
Airport. And then you have Reagan, right? You have Reagan.
And Reagan is in Virginia also.
Right, and BWI. Thurgood Marshall.
And BWI, yeah. BWI is that one is a little bit. Yes, that's a rough one, right? But the one that is hardest is I think Reagan is the easiest, I was told, to fly in and out of DC. Is that correct?
That's the one that's so close to DPC that people actually think it's in DC. And it kind of gives a name like it's in DC. So yes, it's the closest to DC.
Okay.
It's right across the bridge in Virginia. So when literally you can see Washington, DC when you're standing there. But I was asking that because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And sometimes we just have to take a break for our mental health. So coming to the beautiful island of St. Croix just seemed like a really good idea to just exercise.
You sound like you're making plans to be here really soon. I'm starting to get that feeling. I'm not sure.
You've heard her say she's solidifying vacation plans. Now don't blast her out. Let her.
I'm just trying to make it easy. I'm trying to do something, because we talked about COVID. We talked about, easing up, we talked about, but at some point we have to live a little, you can't be isolated. And I was pro-isolation for 365 days plus. Now
I'm noticing a trend. There's a trend that I'm noticing because of COVID and the pandemic, there's a lot of African Americans that have been flying into St. Croix. I've never seen it like that before. I mean, the number of African Americans vacationing on St. Croix. And I was told the reason for that is because the fact that there's no cruising, right? The cruise ships are not sailing, that those who normally go on a cruise and they can't go, and all the other Caribbean islands are pretty much shut down and you can't really get in. We're seeing that spillover. We're getting the benefit of that. And we're seeing that the fact that we're just seeing this huge spike in African Americans coming to the U.S. coming to St. Croix. I don't know about St. Thomas and St. John, but definitely they're you're seeing them all over here in St. Croix.
Well, I like to think, Anthony, that it's because of the awareness that you've raised by virtue of the Caribbean American single economy that now people are actually coming to spy out the land. And see what additional things they need. That's all.
You got brownie points too. See, this is
I was going for it, Linda. You
brownie point Wednesday.
I had to grab something.
That was good, Carolyn.
I had to
grab something on that one.
At least I'm worth something, right? To be able to do my part as an ambassador, right? To spread the word. But enough about it. Listen, who do we got on today? We can go on and on with this. Who do we have on today? What are we talking about today?
To Linda's point about Mental Health Awareness Month and things like that, we have on the CEO of Evoke LLC. This is Radiah Rhodes, and what a phenomenal individual. So if you can bring her in. We just want our viewers and our listeners.
Drum roll, please. Can we get the drum roll?
Hey.
How are you, Radiah?
I am very, very well. How are you all?
We're doing fantastic.
We are doing wonderful. And we want you to know, that song, I'm Every Woman. This is every day of the week. So we are so glad that you are here for our Monday through Friday, whatever the day it is. We're glad you're here. And we're going to be talking to you. It's interesting. You have this incredible company that you're going to tell us a little bit about, as well as what you do. But I'd like you, first of all, normally Linda or I will do an intro. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I fancy myself as a well-being innovator. That's my passion. And it says a lot about me. Innovation, creativity, passion, well-being is my jam. It's my purpose. It's why I'm here, and it's who I am. And I was actually in corporate America for almost 20 years, about 20 years. And as degreed, I'm an engineer. And so I went through a full corporate career, primarily through engineering, operations, leadership, logistics, a bunch of different traditional things. And then I shifted into innovation at the second half of my career. And it just sparked something in me, and it unleashed my creativity. And I was actually working for CoverGirl Cosmetics and Max Factor and creating the global portfolio for our face products and launching those. And so for me, it's about the innovation. And then I fell in love with well-being. And I have a whole personal story about how I got there. But this idea of how can we be whole and well, and how that fuels creativity and productivity and all the things that we want to do and achieve and accomplish in life. So that's who I am.
Outstanding. We subscribe to that.
Good.
We subscribe to that. Carolyn, I think you might be on mute, and I know you have something important to say.
Yeah, thank you, Linda, for pointing that out. So you know that our studios are at home, and I have two massive mastiffs. So when I hear that they are running and jumping and making their noise when they're talking to me, I'm muted. And thank you, Linda, for catching that. I didn't unmute. So Radiah, I think a great way to get into our discussion around what Evoke does and why you consider yourself a well-being innovator is to tell us a little bit about your company, because I notice it says that you are a well-being company, and we hear a lot about wellness. Mm-hmm. So well-being, can you help us understand the difference and just kind of walk us through what you do?
Yeah, sure. So we always say emphasis on being, because most people, as you say, will prioritize the well portion of it. And that's critical. That's the point. But being is our existence. It's how we're showing up in the world, the ways in which we're actually existing. And that is what gives rise to our ability to be well. That's how we create wellness. And so we like to emphasize the being element of it. And Evoke is about helping you to see yourself and who you're being in a way that you never have before, and actually tap in and learn how you can shift your ways of being to create outcomes. So think about us as human beings. We are natural born creators. That's what we do. We create experiences, we create meaning, we create tangible realities in the world. And that all comes from who we're being, although we believe it comes from what we do. And I think that's why we're so tired.
Yes.
Because we're doing the most.
We're doing,
when you
We're
sit back
doing
in
the
your
most.
being, we're doing the most, all the things, right? And so, but when you sit back and reside from a place of being, and you learn how to have the same facility you have in doing and taking actions and being high performance, you gain that that facility in your beingness. It actually is powerful, and it takes much less to accomplish and create the things that you want, because you're a natural born creator. And so we teach people how to create results, how to achieve goals, how to make the impact they want, and how to live the life, the quality of life they want from a place of being as opposed to doing.
That's really critical. It reminds me of this amazing book that I've read many times called The Power of Now.
Yes.
That is so difficult to internalize, that being that right at that moment, because we've been so conditioned from our childhood to do,
Yes.
But our being does come naturally if we don't hinder it. No one taught us how to walk. Evolution, we just began to walk and talk and do, and then have an informed opinion. And then our awareness took over, and that doing, I would imagine, started kicking in. So does it require going back and doing some remedial work, kind of going back inside people and start pulling out those traumas that they don't even know are there?
It can. It doesn't have to, but it can. And it often does, because you have to unlearn. And so you go back and you look at, who have I been being, so that you can distinguish it from who you are. And so who you are is a human being, an energy, right? A power, a force in this, at this space and time. Who you've been being is a mother or a sister or a worker or a business owner. And that has a whole world associated with it. But it's not you. It's not who you are. You just have chosen to show up that way primarily. So we go back with people to help them distinguish, who have you been being and how's that working for you? And if it's working, it's fine, right? Because many of us have really great lives. Whoever we've been being up to this point has helped us. It's helped us survive. And in many cases, it's helped us thrive. And so we talk about, how do we flourish, beyond thriving, which still has kind of a persistent energy in it. But flourish is like a natural wellspring of, right, expansion and growth and wellness. And so, so sometimes you do go back and unearth, but it really, you go back we always say we help you dive deep without dwelling deep and drowning.
Wow. Can you say that again? Can you say that? We help you what? Because Linda was showing you, we write notes.
Yes, we write our notes.
That's right. If you see us looking down, and oftentimes I'll look back on shows and I'm looking down, and it is because I was deep in the notes. So you said we help you
to dive deep without dwelling and drowning there. Because I'll tell you a story about how this originated. So I talked about my career. I came out of college as an engineer and had a great job offer and was moving to the area. I live in Maryland, where many of my friends lived. At the time, my boyfriend was moving here. I just moved here as well. So everything was opening up and I was ready to hit the ground and work, right? So I was ready to do it all. And it went well until it didn't. And I ran into, ageism. I ran into sexism in the workplace. I ran into racism. It just became really challenging for me. I ran into relationship issues at the time as well. And it kind of felt like it was all closing in on me. And being an engineer, I had to figure out how I was going to move through this. And I had significant change happen in just a 2-year period. And my father asked me the question one day, who are you? And I was like, well, how do you want me to answer that? How do I answer that question? He said, I'm not going to tell you how to answer it. You just think about it and come back. And so I prayed, I meditated, I journaled. And what came to me was, I am life-changing love.
Okay.
You
That
are
was
life
thought. I
changing
am
love.
life-changing love. Well,
Listen,
first of all, if
I
I
know.
could ask a question right now, you said, because I don't know that that's a question I would ask my child. And I
Mm,
don't mean in a childlike state, but clearly
mhm.
parents, who are you? I just think that I find that that is such an interesting question for him to ask. He must be as deep as you are, but keep going.
He is.
Because you're
That's where I
saying
get
that
it
we have
from.
representatives of of bits and pieces of ourself that somehow get glued together and we walk into places and we are doing that representative. Is that what you
Mhm.
mean? And then this exploration with you, which sounds yummy on every conceivable level, takes you into the who you are. I don't think I know.
No, and you know what's
Right.
so interesting, to your point, the minute we get a career, or even before that, when we start to
Mhm.
write a resume, we start to paint a picture of what we want people to think about us and to know about us. Then
Mhm.
when we start to network, we learn how to verbalize through an elevator pitch or something else
Mhm.
who we are. Like people say,
Yeah,
so, and it's gotten to the point, usually people don't ask who you are, they say, what do you do? And then that
absolutely.
gets
Yes.
jumbled up in our head. And so we wind up coming out, I am the whatever, whatever, whatever of all of these various things. So listening to you, as Linda said, this is yummy on every level. This is really even a different way to think about how I answer that question the next somebody says, so who are you?
Yeah. So who I am is life-changing love.
Life
And
change.
everything about me flows from there. It's the highest version that I could conceive, right, of myself. When I sat in a still place and I asked that question just outwardly and inwardly, I asked, who am I? Who am I? And I allowed the answer to emerge. And when I heard it, it wasn't a thought. It was
Mhm.
an emergence of truth. And it resonated in my spirit. And I knew that that is who I am. I just knew it. I knew it inside from a spiritual place. And so that set the tone. And then my brain kicked in and said, well, what does that mean? Right.
Mhm.
And how do you do that? What do you do? And so for me, and I'm great at that, right? I've always known what I wanted to do. And I use I loosely because what I are we talking about? The I that was conditioned to, achieve certain things or to desire or to prioritize certain things, always knew what she wanted. She knew how to get it. And she had accomplished most of those things actually. But I felt really unfulfilled. I felt miserable. I was even becoming ill. It got to a point where I became physically ill from just working so hard, being so exhausted, and being so out of alignment with who I was. And so when I think about who you are, it is that the highest version of your spiritual, your energetic being that you can connect to and verbalize. And that answer emerges if you sit still and earnestly ask, you'll hear it. And then there's who have I been being? And who I was being at that time was an overachiever who was trying to prove herself and really achieve my way out of a childhood that was really challenging for me. I was
Mhm.
trying to escape. That's who I had been being. And that person was fierce because she created an amazing career. She accomplished all kinds of things. She built a family and a home and things that she had never had. But it just wasn't working at the present moment. And it wasn't in service to who I wanted to be and how I wanted to feel and what kind of life I wanted to live.
That's remarkable. That's life extending work because now I hear you have an amazing book
I do.
that you share a little bit about your book because then that means that we can take a little bit of you with us wherever we go.
Sure. So my book is titled Being is the New Doing. It's a divine guide to owning your energy, time, and peace of mind. And it's about everything I'm speaking to. When I went through that period of like, who am I? And then I started to make declarations about what that meant. I am a woman whose connection to my highest power is the number one thing in my life. I am a woman who takes care of myself, mind, body, and spirit. I am a passionate partner to my spouse. I am a loving and nurturing mother to my children. I started to declare this is what that means. And this is what it looks like. And here are my standards. And here are, my requirements and here are my preferences. And I really started to just fill in from my own definition of who I am and who I wanted to be. And that changed my life. And it changed my life over a series of seasons. And being an engineer, what I ended up doing actually was charting that out in a spreadsheet, in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet.
Ah, woman after my own
And I
heart.
asked myself some questions and I filled them in, and I saved the workbook titled I Am. So, and I still have those workbooks from 2012 that just outlined who I defined myself in that season, and who what my standards were and what I wanted, what my goals were. And it just so happened that every few months I would look back and notice that I had conquered certain fears, I had achieved certain goals, I had fulfilled certain desires, and I hadn't done anything. I had just taken myself through the process of seeing it and telling the truth about it. And I learned that there's something to this. And that's what actually started Evoke, was how do I take this spreadsheet and map it in a way that people can actually use it as a process. And the book speaks to that process, which we call beprinting. It's blueprinting who you're being.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
That is
beprinting.
Very nice.
It's the blueprint for who to come to your authentic self.
Absolutely.
And can you imagine the level of stress that individuals in this past year of COVID being isolated have had to confront? Just the very things that you're talking about, that they were so aligned with their doing that they never could just stop and be. And because COVID put us all under this microscope of stop and, go introspective if you can. Many got into the lane of doing. I think, that's what our business, we just got into the lane of doing because we needed to make some money. You needed to continue on. And that drive and quest for that income becomes the focal point. Even if we say it isn't our focal point, it becomes that real true
focal point. It's the
Carolyn's like, let's get that straight, Linda.
If I had the ability to already be in St. Croix and you're in one place and we're sitting back, it was about lights on, electronics working, food being eaten, families.
Well, that's my partner. She just keeping it very, very real, and I like that.
And so to your point, Rodiah, the challenge that this seems to me, and I don't know if this is a self-guided course, because I think you're amazing to have been able to accomplish that on your own. There's a problem with people being honest with themselves, and I don't think it's because they don't want to be. Right. But we're talking about a whole lot of onion peeling. At what point? How do you get honest? Because we're told naturally the parts of us that are not the prettiest are the parts that we spend the most time covering, which is why we all wear clothes. Okay, just think about it. Our face is out. We can do something with that. But
right.
The more unattractive parts of us we cover up, and that happens emotionally and intellectually on some level. So how do you what is this course? How do you get to a point that you can have people that honest?
Yeah, so it's very simple. Remember, I'm an engineer. And so it really was about looking at it as a process, that if we create these kind of inputs and walk people through this process, then they will ask these very simple questions, and then they'll answer them, and we'll help them to form it as their truth. So it is self-guided, but we also offer facilitated workshops and trainings to go through it. And we also offer coaching and an accountability structure. We call it intention coaching. And so there's 9 steps to the process, very straightforward. There's 4 phases. There's authenticity, there's alignment, there's authority, and then activation. And so the point is, you ask yourself a few questions to become authentic. Then you take a few actions to bring everything into alignment with that authentic self. Then you walk in the authority. There are practices that have you to walk in the authority, and we measure how you're actually showing up. So the measure of your well-being for us is intention. What is your intention level? So if you think about a goal that you have, any goal, something maybe that's been elusive or that you've had on your heart for a long time, and you think about who have you been being about that goal? Because people use the word intention all the time. I want to be intentional. I set my intentions.
Yeah.
Right. And they're really using it to say, I set a goal or an objective. We're saying intention is not a goal or objective. Intention is the sum total energetic measure of who you're being and how you're showing up. And so you don't have an intention.
I'm sorry, sum total energetic measure. And please forgive me for cutting you off. Sum
No,
total
it's fine.
energetic measure of how you are showing up.
Yep, of who you're being and how you're showing up. And that measure, right? If you can measure it, you can master it, is what we say, right? So we want to put a measure to it that allows you to check in with yourself as it relates to your goal. Who are you being and how you're showing up? So we say you don't have an intention, you are an intention. And that lens brings a whole different perspective.
That's remarkable. I'm a student of Wayne Dyer and all of that whole crew. And so what you're saying is music to my ears, because it is a remarkable practice. Because this is one of the real interesting parts of our essence that we haven't captured on a normal basis, because as you said, Carolyn, we put so many things on. And, I had this visualization when you were saying that we put clothes on our emotions and we add more to it and nobody can see it. And then sometimes then all of a sudden we closed the closet door and didn't realize how much we have loaded on ourselves to be in a position of starting to even open the closet to start to take everything out and unpack that thing. And so this intention, I love the way you described it. And I don't want us to gloss over that, because that is a very distinct difference between the goals and the objectives and the attention. But the intention is you. Yes. Is us.
Yes. Wow. And I love that. Good way to put that. The sum total measure of who you are being and how you are showing up.
Yeah.
Because if you hold it as you, as opposed to something you have, then you can't mask all of those elements, right? So who you're being, we say, has an anatomy. It's your beliefs, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your actions. Those elements, the beliefs, what you hold to be true, the thoughts, those ideas in your head that you subscribe to or that run patterns, the feelings, that physiological, sensorial experience you have in your body, right? And then your emotions, how you interpret those and what meaning you give to those feelings and thoughts. And then your actions. What do you actually execute in real time? That's the anatomy. That makes up the anatomy of your being. And so when you hold yourself as an intention, as opposed to just the thought or the objective, one element of the anatomy, you now have to shine the light on all of the elements of your being, your emotions, your body, and your feelings, every element.
And it takes I'm sorry.
I know, right?
It's so yummy. So it's how you are being. So that is the me part, being honest. But then how I'm showing up actually has to do with how others are perceiving who I'm being, or
not necessarily.
Are both outward facing, or is?
That's a great question, actually. So we have an intention scale, and the scale does have two elements to it. The scale, on one side of the scale, is what's your experience. So we measure your intention as your own experience. And then the second element of it is what's the energetic you're giving out, which is a blend between how you're showing up and how people might pick up your signal. So I'll give you an example. Think of a goal that you have, and you don't have to share the goal, but you can just kind of think of something that for you is something you've been wanting to do, whether it's vacation or whether it's planting a garden, which I love, but anything. And then I'm going to read to you the experiences of the scale with the energetics. And then I want you to just listen for, relative to that goal, where are you on the scale? So I would ask you.
So can you hold on just for a minute, because we are almost at the top of the hour.
I was looking at the clock myself.
I was going to say, so at the top of the hour, we do a station break. So if I am not going to allow, or neither will Anthony, to come in and interrupt all of this goodness we got going on. So Anthony, where are you? If you want to come and do our station break, because we're getting ready to get deep and heavy. We're not going to drown and stay there.
No. No.
Thank you.
Here he is. Okay.
That's kind of good. That's kind of good. You're being very vigilant of the clock. And thank
You've taught us very, very well. And this is so yummy. We cannot have a break on this. We got to go all the way.
We got to go all the way live.
So let's take a quick break. Let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. Folks, this is the Marketplace Show, Reset and Jumpstart, here on WSCX 970 AM, on the Kalaloo Network, on La Mega Mundial, on Caribbean Passport, as well as on the Kalaloo Network and across social media. We'll be right back.
Small business is a part of all of us each and every day. It's where we eat, it's where we shop, It's where we go to meet our friends and colleagues. In the wake of COVID-19, our small business community desperately needs our help. We must do our part to help our local communities to once again thrive. We must focus our attention on the small businesses that are the fabric of our great nation. SureUp is a network of small business owners, their employees, and local consumers all working in unison to support each other. By creating incentives for consumers to think local before considering regional and national providers to fulfill their needs, we create local job opportunities and rebuild our communities. In addition, through AI-driven tools and machine learning, in just 5 minutes a day, SureUp assists business owners in improving their social media presence, which enhances their visibility among consumers and levels the playing field so that local businesses can better compete with large, name-brand online competitors. When local businesses leverage the SureUp platform, full-time and part-time employees, whether W-2 or 1099, are rewarded with a variety of voluntary perks and member benefit options. These include discounts on the things people do every day, access to low-cost, subscription-based telehealth and teletherapy, discounted prescription drug plans, connection to exclusive Prosper resources, and so much more. All for less than the cost of a cup of coffee each day. The Jumpstart Marketplace is here to support the health and wellness of individual employees, as well as the health of businesses in the local communities in which we live and work. We're all in this together, so join us as we reinvigorate our local community and improve the physical and financial health of working America.
We're back.
Yay!
Yes, and we're having an amazing conversation regarding the difference between, and it's really, being and doing, intention, goal setting, really coming into your authentic self. And we have this amazing expert, Ms. Rhodes. I don't want to pronounce your name incorrect. That's giving us an amazing master class right now. So
That's exactly
make sure
right.
you have your notebooks.
Have your notebook out there.
Because we're about to go into another way of looking at the intention scale. So you were giving us a great example of that.
Yeah. So as a measure of your well-being, and all of this ties back because you talked about the being, overdoing, and then the your intention level and thinking about that and goal achievement. The idea is that when you're being, then you can be well. When you're doing, you will drain your resources. So when you are authentic and you're aligned and you're in your authority and you activate, then you can accomplish and achieve goals from a place of well-being. And that will just expand your life, increase your prosperity, right? And the goals will be meaningful. They'll matter to you. They won't be hollow or empty at the end. Because I know I've achieved many things that at the end, I still felt unfulfilled. And so the intention scale is a way for you to check yourself as you are achieving and doing whatever you're doing. Who are you being as the source of those actions? And so think about a goal that you have, like I was saying, and you don't have to share it, but just bring it present to your mind, and maybe a goal that's been elusive to you. And I want you to ask yourself, who have I been being about this goal? Have I been suffering about it? Is there some resentment around it? Have I been sabotaging it? Do I feel and experience great pain? Sometimes we even become ill, which was part of my story. Or are you struggling? Does it feel like there's a fight happening? There's a tension point that you just can't get past, and you're exerting significant energy to try and create this goal. You feel like you're maybe resisting something, there's resistance there, or maybe even you're suppressing and holding back. Or would you say you're sacrificing? There's always some noble reason for you to not take the action that would bring this goal into reality, right? This is where we have children, we have the business needs, we have all the reasons to justify not doing the things that we know are aligned with the goal that we have. And you find really you're avoiding, right? You end up avoiding or in denial about what it is that who you're being as opposed to what you want. Or would you say you're settling? Maybe you're a little indifferent, kind of vacillating back and forth, or even resigned. You've tried it before, it didn't work, so you just kind of let it go. And interesting enough, a lot of people practice gratitude at the level of settling. And so our answer to settling becomes, well, I'm so grateful, and I should be grateful. Look at everything I have, as if you can't be grateful and want more at the same time. So
wait a minute, hold on. I'm going to need you to, I can't run as fast as your brain is just putting out all these gold nuggets. You said some people express or achieve or display gratitude at a level of settling. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And that makes so much sense when you really think about it. It's not that we're not grateful. It's just that we're expressing gratitude at a place of saying, that's it. That's all I get. And therefore I am grateful.
Yes.
But what you're saying, which is such a remarkable shift of thinking, is to have that really be your starting point to where else you can actually go.
Yeah, because I usually frame gratitude inside of appreciation. And I talk about appreciation as a way to literally increase the value and meaning and impact of something. So when a house appreciates, its value goes up. So when someone shares a compliment, or if someone, generously gifts something, I appreciate, or even just a comment that a person makes, when I honor and appreciate and acknowledge what they said, I will add value to it, build on it, reinforce it, or repeat it. And so I think about gratitude as a way of appreciating and increasing value of things and indulging even. If you're grateful for that meal, you want more of the meal.
Okay,
so
that's
it's so
true.
interesting, right? Like it's so interesting how we use gratitude to say this is enough.
No, but we're taught that from children. And when you think about it, I can remember times like, if everybody was getting something and I'm like, oh, I wanted the chocolate one as opposed to the cherry flavored one. My mother's response would be, you better be glad you got anything. And I thought, you know what? I'm feeling real grateful right now. So I had to settle. Somebody else got the chocolate Tootsie Pop, which is my absolute favorite. And everybody in my family knew it. But I had to settle for the one I didn't want. But I bet. So that was a learned behavior.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not saying that's not.
And think about how that has become so automatic in everything that we do as we've matured and grown in our careers, in our family, in our parenting, in our, just relationships overall, how we deal with ourselves. And this is so healthy for us to have this conversation during May mental health, month, because we're struggling with, are we in COVID? For some people, they're moving out. What do we do? How do we accomplish this? And I know you have a story around, COVID. We'd love to hear that, because I think this is a critical thing for our listeners and our viewers to understand, that not only is there hope, but there is some remarkable work that you can do introspectively that's going to give you the highest amount of life satisfaction for what we have, because we are grateful. We appreciate that we have come. I'm a quick learner. We appreciate that we have come to this place on the other side of COVID when so many people did not. And what do we do with that now?
Yeah. So, and I'm going to finish going up the scale with you, because that's going to give you even some access into how I navigated through COVID.
Okay.
And so, when you're at the level of settling, and we talked about being indifferent or resigned. And each of these ways of being, this experience of settling or sacrificing, is how you're responding or reacting to the circumstances around you, which COVID, right? It became a circumstance that we all had to deal with. And we each went into some experience as a reaction to that. So some of us suffered, some of us struggled, some of us made sacrifices, some of us settled and just kind of stood still. So if you keep going up the scale, would you say, are you striving? Were you striving, putting out great productive energy, but to no end, right? Always in pursuit of this energy of wishing. It's a wishful, hopeful, you like, I want it and I'm working for it. But it's still this kind of exhaustive cycle of not having it.
Well, we lived that, didn't we, Linda? In so many senses.
I felt like somehow you were with us. I mean,
what you're describing.
Cat got my tongue, and that's not a usual place, because it's true. I so agree with Carolyn. You've described so succinctly and so simply something that literally we know so well.
Yes.
And we had a comment from the amazing, wonderful Betty Hines, who's looking out on Facebook. And I took I didn't want to miss her comment. I literally took a camera picture of it, because she said something really important as well, that settling is because sometimes we feel we want to avoid, or she gave it a minute. You are settling and saying you're grateful in some instances because you are avoiding and say, this is all I need or deserve. Thank you, Betty Hines, because that I know that feeling. I've walked there. I feel almost teary-eyed right now thinking about it in that way.
Yeah, because you start to see who you've been being about your life. And it does bring emotion, because you are the creator of your life. Yeah. And who you're being about your life means that is the life that you're going to live. And you get present to who you've been being is worth honoring, but there's so much more. You can feel like how much more there is. And Betty's very right, because those levels that I just took you through, the suffering, struggling, sacrificing, settling, striving, we call those the spiral. That's spiral, right? Because they go up and down. And so you do find yourself sometimes feeling resentful or suppressing or avoiding and denying or resisting. And it keeps you in this cycle of low intention. And again, all of these intentions, none of them are good or bad. It's about being conscious of them. Because the range of our human experience is meant for us to survive. It's meant for us to create. And so it's not bad. Suffering can have purpose if you're conscious of it. You can use it to purify. You can use it to literally, kind of transform or transmute wounds or pain. And so none of it is good or bad, but it's about being conscious of where you are on the scale and then determining for yourself what's in most of the service to your soul. I think it's Gary Zukav that defines authentic power is when you bring your personality or your ego, or we call it the default, into the service of your soul. And the soul is that life-changing love. When I answered the question, who am I? That was a soul question my father was asking me. At my highest self, I am life-changing love. As my ego, survival, personality self, I was an overachieving, intelligent, hard worker, proven herself, but that caused a lot of pain, and it worked until it didn't. And I needed to be able to go back to who I am at the highest version to create a new way of being in the world that served what I was up to.
So let me ask you.
I know, right?
Look, I'm still. Y'all still got me at. We're only at level 2 on the scale.
We're only at level 2 on the woman. How many is on the scale? Because
I just need to put some Velcro on my arms and just attach you to me.
I know, right?
So I am all untangled. Can I just ask an interesting question, and as a thought process, because we're talking about us now as grown women. This sounds like amazing work that we would do with our young people so that they literally can have the vantage point of this expertise. Do you work with young people so that as they progress and move and begin to determine who they are in a real way, what do you want to do when you grow up? That kind of question. Can you imagine, what do you want to do when you grow up? We don't ask the question, how do you want to be when you grow up? I just said that to myself. You just took me into a whole nother vortex.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's a powerful question. We absolutely work with children. My own children go through the process. It's a quarterly process. So literally, as you become more So you go through that first round of the process. Like I said, it's 9 steps. It's a 90-day. So it's a seasonal process with yourself where you set a goal and then you move through this intention scale in the way that you achieve it. We call it the inner game plan. So you create an inner game plan for 90 days. And my children create their own inner game plans. Exelon actually, so a couple of companies had me to do a leadership series with high school girls, and I've gone through different trade schools with young people, and so we love it. They do it much more easily and quickly than adults because they don't have as much conditioned baggage. So
Right,
children
exactly.
fly through the process. And I remember one instance with my son, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm the Superman something something." Like he created himself into
What
who
are
he
their
wanted to
ages?
be.
What
Yeah,
are their ages?
my son is 12 and my daughter is 13. She'll be
Okay.
14 in 2 weeks.
And these are
He
the
was
critical
probably
ages.
10. He was probably 10 at the time that he said that when he created that one. And I thought it was so funny. It was just so matter of fact. And like, yeah, because kids are like, I'm Superman. And then they're like, well, I'm Batman now. And they go all in. But adults, we are so stagnant and definitive in how we define ourselves and our identities. And that's not the truth of the power we have as human beings. We can literally be anyone we choose, however we choose, and whomever we choose to show up as. And we've even coined it so that authenticity is almost like you're the same way all the time. Like if you're different, you're not authentic. No, you are most authentic when you are actually being present in the moment and showing up as a match for the moment for whatever goal or commitment you have beyond that.
I absolutely
A
love
match
that.
for the moment.
Match for
Yes.
the moment. Do you have your book nearby that we can show our audience and make sure that we, there we go on that beautiful bookshelf.
Exactly.
Look at that. Yes. Yes.
Awesome,
Yes.
Radaya. That's
Yes.
amazing.
We love this. And we just encourage everyone out there to please, what is your website? How can they get in touch with you? How can they bring you into their being and doing and become the better authentic self? How can they connect?
So, yep, we're Evoke Life pretty much everywhere. EVOKLIFE. So it's evokelife.com. We're on Instagram and LinkedIn. Sometimes you'll see us as Evoke Life by Design. And I always tell people, you can send me an email, radaya@evokelife.com, RADIAH@evokelife.com. One of the benefits of this work is time freedom. And so, you hear people all the time talk about, time freedom. I never finished the scale. So you go up from striving.
We're just going to need a whole dictionary. Do you have your own dictionary?
I know,
we
right?
do.
Not only
We
that,
do.
Terminology. Oh, you do? Oh, but of
We
course
do.
you do.
But when you go up the scale, you go from, we talked about settling, and then you move into striving, and then you go up to seeking. And this is the first place where you have this opening of power as in terms of your human power. And seeking is where you're asking and believing. You start to explore new ways of being. You start to explore new relationships and new methods or approaches or a new perspective. And so you ask, and asking could be in the form of prayer. It could be literally making a request of someone, putting yourself out there. And as you ask, you get a response. And those responses start to allow you to form new beliefs or to reform beliefs or to reinforce beliefs that are in service to your goal. And then as you move up from seeking, then you move to surrendering. And surrendering is the level at which commitment occurs. When you surrender to that there's a greater force at work on your behalf and that you actually are not in control of the things outside of you the way you think you are, then you know what is yours to do, and you can make a commitment of time, energy, and resources to that. And through that commitment, you build a knowing in your spirit. And that is surrendering. It's an assurance and a knowing that there's a greater force at work for your good, and you don't have to do so much. You've done enough. There's only specific things that are yours to do, and that if you stay in alignment and just do those things, what you envision will actually come to pass. So it's not necessarily law of attraction. It has to do with alignment in that case, because they're still doing. It's not just sit and it comes, but it's what is yours to do, not everything and all the things. And then go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
From surrendering, level 7 is sovereignty. And that is the embodiment, right? When you are at sovereignty, you are it, what the goal is. You are embodying it. And as human beings, whatever we embody is what is present. It exists. And so when you think about it, most of us are trying to accomplish things from a struggle at best, right? And so we always say if you say you're trying to lose weight, release pounds, you could probably struggle off 5 or 10 pounds. But the greater your goals become, struggling doesn't work. And that void it affects your life over time and ongoing. So moving up the scale and really learning what it means to be sovereign and being able to practice sovereignty of yourself, sovereignty over your life, the supreme authority and embodiment of who you say you are, of what you envision and what you want, is the most well-being experience we can have, right?
So
It's
are you
full
saying,
alignment.
is sovereignty over your life, is that just a high level of self-control? In other words, some people say, well, I can't change. I've always been this way, or I can't stop eating because I love this particular thing. Is that self-control, or are you adding something else to that?
So it's I wouldn't say control, because it really is actually an allowance of freedom without fear. Control comes from a perspective, or puts a lens on it, that there's a suppression and a management. See, I don't have to control myself because I'm assured of who I am and I'm in alignment. And so I'll give you an example. One time I told my dad, as I was going through this process, I said, I'm just afraid to go into the emotions. Like, if I go into the emotions that are in me, I won't come back. I don't know if I'm going to come out of it. And I might do something crazy. And he was like, I know you. Your crazy ain't really crazy. Like, he was like, girl, you ain't gonna do nothing crazy. You're gonna be, and he just kind of leveled me really quick. So when you know who you are and you are practiced at alignment, right, and how you show up, and the more you practice, like that alignment for me, I don't have to control it. I can just be. I can literally just be in alignment, and that is going to have the footprint and the impact that it needs to have, because I've defined myself as good and whole and well and generous. Like, I know who I am. And if I operate in alignment with that, there's going to be a great outcome. So I don't have to control myself.
Okay,
and I think what you said at the top of the hour was, when we first started, was really critical, because these are new concepts that aren't new, but in your framing of them, they're so powerful that it takes a time for the mind to unlearn all of the pattern and behavior of thinking in order to surrender even into the process. And I love that word surrender, because it's almost like you feel like you're in a free fall.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to trust yourself that the process will work. And you have to trust yourself that the mind that we have been blessed with, that we use so little of in the scheme of our intelligence, can grab hold of what you're saying and then translate into a whole new thought pattern.
Well, it's interesting because we don't want to go through the mind. Your spirit already knows everything I'm talking about. That's why it's moving you. So we don't enter through the mind. That's what most of the programs and most of the content is doing. And so, yeah, you're resisting some of it. You're half taking it on. You're arguing with it, and it has to be, it becomes something that takes a long time. All we're doing, we say our mission is to remind you of who you are as a human being and unlock that power so that you can transform yourself and impact the world. So we go in through a spiritual, and that's the way our process is designed. It's a proprietary process. It seems on the outside very simple. It really is literally 9 exercises that we sequence appropriately for you, but it's efficient. In 90 days or less, 6 weeks, we've seen people completely transform their whole world. And it's not a blow up or a crisis or an undoing. It literally is just a shift into alignment with who they are, and then everything works with it. And that's from their own personal experience of, health and well-being, or fulfillment, as well as their tangible results of promotions and raises at work and relationship, improvements with their partners. So we go through this. We say it's spirit-led, science-based, and reality-driven. We are 3. Our team is of women who have been through the realities, especially Black women. Our lived experiences, have a depth to it that we have to acknowledge and honor to open up pathways for us to be able to move forward in a healthy manner. And so we designed this process where we're all engineers, PhD in math and curriculum development. So it's baked in there to walk you through in a very efficient way that's reminding you of who you are so you can unlock that power very quickly.
That's wonderful. And you said spirit-led. Let me just get that down on in my book.
Spirit-led, science-based, and reality-driven.
That is really amazing. And so you said it's proprietary. Is this actually, I mean, can you even patent things like this? Is that patented or
we're looking into it? We certainly have copyrighted, our materials and trademarked our some of our language, but it's we're looking at patenting and now doing a lot of science and research work around the mechanisms that this process actually unlocks that has people transform so quickly and so efficiently and with so much ease.
That's so terrific. Oh no, we have more to talk about.
We didn't even get to talk fully about your company or your incredible juice line. You're going to have to come back, Radaya.
The beauty is she is such a fantastic guest. We want more.
Yeah.
We want more.
Yes, we do. We want more.
We want more. We want more. Okay.
We want more.
So I want to thank you. You spelled it Radia or Radia?
Radaya.
Okay, tell me more. Radaya.
He had you radish at first. You were radish at first.
That's my autocorrect name.
There's no S in there.
Name is Radish.
And I was going to say Rashida, and I don't know where I got that from. I was just, but that's okay. You have been fantastic.
Radaya, thank you so much. You want to close with contact information so we can, have you back, of course, but certainly until we get you back, you want to share your contact information, please?
Sure. I shared we're at Evoke Life, EVOKLIFE everywhere. So evokelife.com is our website. We're Evoke Life on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And I tell people you can just email me, radaya@evokelife.com. And I answer my emails.
We love
you
it. You
answer your emails. Oh, wow.
I do. That's what I was saying earlier. The benefits of being
told me emails
is time freedom.
Somebody told me emails are so old school, With all these different apps and technology that we have, emails are so old school. People are not even answering their emails anymore. But you do, so that's great. That's great.
Yes.
All right.
So this has been
so
amazing.
fantastic, and this is life-giving. And we look forward to connecting with you, bringing you back on the show, and taking us through the process. So thank you for
who says Betty
and wonderful Betty Hines. We need to have Betty on this show as well.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, President, CEO, and founder of Women Elevating Women in Washington, D.C. metro area. And I know that you all are part of that organization. And so gold nuggets coming from there. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for having me. It's been fantastic. And I can't wait to come back. I appreciate you. Thank you.
We're going to hold you to that.
Yes.
Thank you.
And get the book.
Right,
I'm going to order mine now.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, ladies. Thank you so much. Until next time, this has been a health and wellness segment on the Marketplace and Jumpstart Reset Show. We will talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.